Hello, in today's video we're going to be making this little honey bear. I'm going to go through and show you how to make all the little parts from the tail to the little cap and the spout. So let's get started with what materials we're going to need to make this little honey bear. The colors of yarn we're using today is brown and a gold color, and that's the only two colors we're going to need for this project. We're also going to need a 3.25 millimeter crochet hook, pair of scissors, yarn needle, stitch marker, safety eyes, and then some polyfill. Or if you want, you can just use some leftover yarn or whatever you want to use to stuff your little bear. So we're going to start off with our golden yellow color, and we're going to be working the head and the body into one continuous piece. So let's start off with our yarn, and we're going to work into a magic ring. And I make my magic ring just by going over my index and middle finger, crossing over, and then having two parallel lines of yarn. I place my hook under the first, come around to the back, bring my hook under both pieces of yarn until I've got a little loop, and then I just come back to the front and then just bring the second yarn through. And that's how I do my magic ring, and I know there's a lot of tutorials on how to make it that might be easier. That's just kind of the way I do it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to single crochet 6 into our magic ring. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we'll pull our tail to close up the ring, but I don't want to pull it too tightly because it can be hard to get into that first stitch if you pull it too tightly after the first 6 stitches. So what we'll do is we'll do an increase, and after that then we'll go ahead and pull that tighter. So right now we've got our magic ring with 6 single crochet. So for round 2, we're going to increase from 6 single crochet to 12. And we're going to do that by doing an increase in each stitch. So in our first stitch, we'll put our first increase. So we'll do 1, 2, and then in our next stitch, we'll have 3, 4, and keep going around. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and our last stitch will be 11 and 12. And now that we have our increase round done, let's go ahead and pull that tight, and that'll close up that little gap. And so that's the end of round 2, where we increased from 6 stitches to 12, and in round 3 we'll increase up to 18 stitches. So I've got my stitch marker in, and we're going to increase from 12 stitches to 18. And our pattern for that will be to increase in our first stitch, and then single crochet in the second. So once again, we'll increase, and then single crochet, increase, and then single crochet. And we'll just follow that pattern to the very end. Okay, and let's see, gotta move that stitch marker out of the way, and then we'll do an increase and single crochet, and then a final increase for round 3, and our final single crochet. And that is the end of round 3, and next we're going to increase from 18 stitches to 24. So here we go, we're on round 4 and we're going to increase up to 24 stitches from 18. And our pattern to complete this will be to increase in our first stitch and then single crochet 1 in the next stitch and single crochet 1 in the next stitch after that. So our pattern again is increase, single crochet, single crochet, increase, single crochet, single crochet. And that is the pattern we'll just follow all the way around. So we've got our increase, 1 and then 2. Okay, so we're almost done with the round. And then we'll do our last increase. And then 1 single crochet and 1 single crochet. And now we're up to 24 stitches, and the next round we're going to do is round 5, which will increase from 24 up to 30. So we are ready for round 5, and now we're going to increase from 24 stitches to 30, and our pattern will be to increase in our first stitch and then single crochet 1 in the next 3 stitches. So we're going to increase, whoops, let me redo that, increase, there we go, and then 1, 2, 3, got our increase, 1, 2, 3, we're about halfway around, get our increase, 1, 2, 3, okay, almost done. And then we're on our final increase, and then our last 3 stitches. There's 1, 2, pop out our stitch marker, and 3. Okay, so we are up to 30 stitches, and in the next rounds, which will be 6 through 10, we're just going to single crochet 1 in each stitch all the way around for 5 rounds. Okay, we are ready for rounds 6 through 10, and again, that is just 1 single crochet in each one of the stitches. So this is a real easy set of rows, and we can just go right through those. So what I'm going to do is just go through a couple more stitches with you, and then what I'll do is I'll have you continue the rest of the rows on your own, and we will meet back at the end of round 10. So just keep single crocheting 1 in each stitch and do that for a total of 5 rows, and we'll meet back at the end of round 10. So we've completed rows 6 through 10, and we're going to go ahead and start on row 11, which is a decrease round from 30 stitches down to 24. I do the invisible decrease, and so what we'll do is we'll place our hook under the front loop of the first stitch, under the front loop of the second, pull through those 2 loops, and then pull through the rest of the loops. And that's how I do my invisible decrease. You can decrease however works best for you. And then what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet 1 in the next 3 stitches. and I can show my invisible decrease one more time. Under the first loop, first front loop, under the second front loop, pull through, and then pull through again. And then just single crochet 1 in the next 3 stitches. Okay, and just complete this pattern all the way around, and that'll bring us down to 24 stitches. There's 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And it's not a very big honey bear, so it usually doesn't take too long to get this head and body part completed. And then the little body parts are so small they work up really quick. Alright, there's decrease, and then 1, 2, 3. Then we've got our final decrease for row 11. 1, 2, and then just take out the stitch marker, and 3. So we've got our first decrease done, and what I'm going to do next is show you where I place my safety eyes. Okay, I'm ready to show where I'm placing my safety eyes, and I like to place mine between rows 8 and 9, and then have about 5 stitches in between the eyes. And so we'll place our first one in, and I'm not going to put the backs on until I'm absolutely sure that's right where I want them, and then I'll have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll just place that right there. And so that looks pretty good. I think I'm going to stick with that, and I'll just pop the backs on, and there should be room for the nose to fit just fine in between the safety eyes. And so now we are ready to go on to row 12, and that'll be a decrease down to 18. We're on row 12, and we're going to decrease down to 18 stitches, and that's from 24. So what we'll do is we'll do our decrease in the first stitch, and then 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. And once again, we'll do the decrease, 1 single crochet, and 2 single crochet. So the patterns aren't hard at all, it's just continuously doing them all the way around. And sometimes you have to be kind of careful once you put your safety eyes in. Sometimes the little back parts are kind of sharp and pointy, but here pretty quickly we'll be ready to start putting some stuffing in to make the head a little easier to hold. In fact, we can probably do that after this round. At least just get a start on the stuffing. So there we go, and then there's 1, 2, and then we'll do decrease, 1, and 2. All right, and that is the end of row 12. And so we're going to add some stuffing in and then continue on to row 13, where we'll decrease down to 12 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and add some stuffing in, really trying to work in between the 2 safety eyes to make sure that area gets filled up. And I'm not going to stuff a whole bunch in because we'll have room to stuff as we go, but this way it just gets a start on the head, so it's got a little something that makes it easier to hold on to. So there we go, that makes for a good start. And then what we'll do is in our next round we'll go from 18 stitches down to 12. Okay, we are going to go from 18 stitches down to 12 in row 13. And I just want to make sure I've got my stitch marker ready. And the pattern for this is simple. We're just going to do our decrease and then a single crochet. A decrease and a single crochet. And so we'll get through this round pretty quickly. And this will be our final round for the head. And then we'll go straight on to the body. And that's even smaller than the head, so that'll work up quick as well. Okay, and we've got our single crochet, our final decrease for round 13, and our single crochet. And so here we are getting ready to work on just the body part, and we'll be increasing in row 14 from the 12 stitches to 24. And so we'll be working in the front loop only. So we'll come back and start on row 14. We are ready for row 14, and we're going to do an increase round from 12 stitches to 24. And we're working in just the front loop only of the stitch, and we're going to increase in every stitch. So working in only the front loop, we'll just go in and put 2 single crochet in each one. And for the body, this will be the only time we need to work in the front loops. From here on out, it'll just be doing a single crochet type stitch in just the full stitch. So just keep going around to each one and increasing so we can get up to 24 stitches. Okay. Not much further to go on this one. Okay. And just a few more. Okay, and we're on our last increase. And we're up to 24 stitches, all made in the front loop only, so you'll be able to see kind of a ring along the inside where the back loop was left. So we've got our increase done, and then we are going to be working on rows 15 through 17, which is just a single crochet in each of the 24 stitches. Before we start on rows 15 through 17, I am going to add just a little more stuffing into the head, since that part of the body is all complete. And so I'm just going to, again, there'll be more time to fill as we go, but since we're all done with this part, it'll just make it easier to add some more stuffing in now. And really make sure you work in between the safety eyes. Sometimes that area can kind of get blocked by the ends of the safety eyes. So we'll just go ahead and add a little more stuffing, and that'll work for now. And again, we'll get ready to start on rows 15 through 17. Okay, this is where it really helps to have a stitch marker, since you're not really following any patterns. So if you just want to start putting 1 single crochet into each of the 24 stitches, and I'll work through a few with you, and then what I'll do is have you complete the 3 rounds on your own, and we will meet back up after row 17 is complete. Okay, we are ready to start on row 18, and we're going to decrease down to 18 stitches. And our pattern to decrease down to 18 stitches is we're going to do a decrease and then a single crochet in the next stitch and a single crochet in the following stitch. So once again, we'll do our decrease and then 1 single crochet and then 2 single crochets. Decrease, 1 and 2. Got a decrease, 1, 2. Decrease, 1, 2, and then get our final decrease. Pop the stitch marker out, 1 and 2. Now we're down to 18 stitches, and in our next round we're going to go from 18 down to 12. So we're ready to start on row 19 to decrease down to 12 stitches, and our pattern will be a decrease followed by 1 single crochet. And so we'll do our decrease and then 1 single crochet. And then after this round we will start working on adding more stuffing, so that way our body starts getting filled out. So let's see, decrease, 1, and let's see here, decrease, 1, come on, and then we've got our final decrease. Whoops, slipped right out of there. Let's do that one more time. And then our last single crochet for the round. So there we are, we're down to 12 stitches, and what we're going to do next is start stuffing this. We're going to get it pretty well stuffed, and then as we're decreasing the final to the final 6 stitches, we'll go ahead and just add as we need to. Alright, so go ahead and just start stuffing. There's not a whole lot of room in the body, so it won't take up a whole lot, not nearly what the head did, but just get it stuffed where it's full, but it's still somewhere where you're able to keep crocheting. And before we've completely closed up, we'll do a little more stuffing if we need to. Alright, and now what we're going to do is we're going to decrease, or begin to decrease down to 6 stitches. And what we can do is we'll do 3 decreases in a row, and then after those 3 decreases we'll see if we should try adding a little more stuffing. Okay, and so I'm going to take out, oops, looks like this yarn is just giving me so much problem tonight. Let me try that 3rd decrease one more time. Okay, there we go. And I'm just going to take, yep, there's room for more, and so I'm just going to take because the little opening's so narrow, I'm just going to use the end of my crochet hook just to kind of push some more down. I guess there was plenty more room than I thought. And it's just kind of up to you how squishy or firm you want your little honey bear to be. So I'll just add a little bit more in, and then we'll do those final 3 decreases. Kind of just work through, kind of push out on the edges. Make sure those are all filled in. So what we'll do, let's do our final 3. And that's just 3 decreases right in a row. So there's 1. Come on, let's start that one over. There we go. There's 2. And 3. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slip stitch into the next stitch and cut off a tail for sewing. Get my hook out and just kind of squish around. So, I mean, there is just a little space left if you wanted to take a little bit of stuffing and just kind of add it in with your, like the tip of your scissors. Just be real careful not to poke yourself, but that way if you need to add just a little bit more. But what we're going to do is we'll thread our yarn needle, and how I close them up is I take my yarn needle and I come from the inside. And so let's see here, the inside out on the first stitch, and then from the outside in. And I am going through the front loops only. And so we just kind of work back and forth until we get through all 6 remaining stitches. Oops. And I think that's everything. And then once you get it, you can just give it a nice firm pull, and that'll close that bottom part up. Just kind of put your hook in, have it come in and out of the body and head or a couple times. That really just kind of secures the yarn. And then once you get that, you can just take your scissors and trim close to the body. If there's any part that's kind of sticking out, just give your amigurumi a little squish, and that will tuck the tail right in. Okay, and then we're going to start going on to the body parts. And so this is the head and the body of our little honey bear. And so we'll keep going from here. So we are ready to work on the little arms for the honey bear, and it is a really quick process. It's just 2 rows. It is a magic loop with 4 single crochet in it, and then an increase of 6 in the second row. And we're going to make 2 of them, and I'll walk you through the first arm, and then I'll have you do the second one. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our magic ring, and we are going to single crochet 4. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll pull it, but not too tight, so we can get into that first stitch, and then we're going to increase until we have 6. So in our first stitch, we're going to increase. So there's 1, 2. We're going to do a single crochet in the second stitch, an increase in the third. So there's 1, 2. Whoops, let me get back on there. So there's our increase. And in our final stitch, we're going to just do a single crochet. So that gets us up to 6 stitches, and then in the next stitch I'm just going to slip stitch, take a tail, cut it off so we'll have some tail for sewing, and then if you just pull the shorter tail, that'll help kind of give it that little rounded part. Now if you just cut even half as much of the tail off and then just kind of twist it up and place it in the base of the arm, that's all you would need for stuffing, because this thing is so small you really don't need any stuffing at all. So we'll go ahead and have you make the second one, and then we'll meet up and get those attached to the body. So I've got both of my arms made, and where I'm going to place them is I'm just kind of right along the side. And so I'll grab up my little body, and then right here where it joins from the head to the body, I'm just going to put my yarn needle through, bring the arm up, and just do a stitch coming up through the front loop, going down the next front loop, and then into the body. And I'm just going to repeat that pattern to get the arm sewn on, and we'll do that for both of them, and then we'll be ready to start working on the legs, and those are just as quick and easy as the arms are. So go ahead and work on your arms, getting those attached, and we'll meet back and start with the legs. Alright, let's get ready to work on the legs, and then once again we're going to make our magic ring, and in that magic ring we're again going to single crochet 4. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll pull our little tail, and instead of increasing to 6, we're going to increase to 8, just to make the feet a little bit bigger. And so we're just going to increase in each of the 4 stitches. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll slip stitch into the next stitch, cut off a tail long enough for sewing, and then just kind of pull on the tail a little bit. And then again, because it's so small, you can just take a little bit of the tail, just kind of twist it up and put it inside, and that's again all you're going to need for stuffing. And then we're going to go ahead and have you work on the second one, and once the second one is done, we'll work on getting those put onto the body. So placing the legs onto the body, we're going to do the same thing for stitching around the legs, but where I place mine is a little more centered, and then it's right on the curve of the body. So right as the body begins to go from the bottom to the stomach, and that's how I do it. So I take the bottom of my foot and place it down below, and then just stitch all the way around. But you can place yours wherever you'd like, however you want to do it, that works perfect. But that's where I'm going to go ahead and place mine, and I'll go ahead and sew those on, and then I'll meet you back here. Okay, so the next part we're going to work is the little snout, and again that's another quick one that we're just going to work through together. And we're going to start off with our magic ring, and then once you have your magic ring, we're going to just single crochet 6 into it. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We'll pull that. And now we're just going to increase from 6 to 8. And our pattern will be in our, oops, there we go. In our first stitch, we're going to increase. And then we're going to single crochet in the second stitch, single crochet in the third, increase in the fourth, single crochet in the fifth, and then single crochet in the sixth. And then we can pull our tail to tighten up that little gap, and then slip stitch into the next. And again, we can just use the leftover short tail to stuff the little snout. We'll cut off a tail to sew, and using the exact same sewing methods, we're just going to place this right in between the eyes. So the top of mine goes right along the same line that the eyes are on. And you can play with it and adjust it to whatever you want. I start stitching from the bottom and then just go all the way around, stitching in the front loop only. And so once you get your little snout made and placed, then the next thing we're going to work on are the ears. So we've got the snout added onto our little bear head, and we're going to work on the ears next. And I'm going to walk you through making the first one, and then I'll have you make the second one. But we're not going to place these until after we put the cap for the spout for the honey bear on. That way we know right where they're going to go. So let's go ahead and get started with the first ear. And it's pretty much just like making the snout, except one extra row of single crocheting 8. So let's start off with our magic ring, and then we're going to crochet 6 into our magic ring. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we'll go ahead and pull that closed, and we're going to increase once again to 8. So we'll increase in our first stitch, single crochet in the second stitch, single crochet in the third, increase in our fourth stitch, single crochet in our fifth, and single crochet in our sixth. Oh, my stomach's rumbling. Oh goodness. Okay, so we've got our 6 single crochet in our magic ring. We've increased to 8 stitches, and now we're just going to single crochet 1 in each stitch all the way around. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. And these do not need stuffed, so you don't have to worry about adding anything into those. And we'll just cut off a tail for sewing. We'll just pull our hook out, pull our yarn through, and that is all it's going to take for the ear. And we'll just have you make one more, and then we'll set these aside until after we get the little cap ready, and then we'll place them on either side. So go ahead and make one more, and then we'll meet back here and do the last little body part, which is the tail. So we've got the ears and we've set those aside, and the last thing we're going to work on for the body part of the bear is going to be the little tail. and that is the easiest of all. So we just make a magic ring, and in our magic ring we just single crochet 3, and that's it. You can just kind of pull it, snip off a little bit off, and just kind of tug on it to kind of pull everything nice and tight. And if you want, you can just do a quick little knot just to keep everything in place. And that's all it takes for the tail. And to sew this on, it's just really easy. We'll just thread our yarn needle, and it just goes right in the center. So we'll take one of the tails and just weave it in a couple times just to bring the tail up to the body. And with the other tail, you can just kind of, I mean, basically you're just coming like right here, coming up right about where it originally went in, grabbing just the end stitch and just pretty much going right back down. There's really nothing to it as far as the tail goes. And then you could just weave your yarn through a couple times and then just cut off the tail, and that's everything you need to make that. And then what we'll do next is we'll grab our brown yarn and start working on the lid base. So we are ready to start working on the lid base and the spout. And for the lid base, it is just 4 rounds. So we're going to start off with our magic ring. And we're going to single crochet 6 into our magic ring. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And so we'll pull that. And now we're going to increase in our second round from 6 to 12. So in round 2 of our lid base, we're going to increase from 6 single crochet to 12. And so we'll just go ahead and increase in all 6 stitches. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. Now we can pull that tail a little tighter and close that up. And in our third round, we'll be increasing from 12 to 18. Okay, we're on round 3, and we're increasing from 12 stitches to 18, and our pattern will be increase in the first stitch, single crochet in the second. And that's the pattern we'll use to go all the way around. We'll do an increase and then 1 single crochet. Got our increase and then single crochet. Grab some more yarn. Increase, single crochet, we're on our last increase, and our last single crochet, and that completes the third round. And we are going to do one more round, and that will be a single crochet of 18 in the back loops only. We are on our final round of our lid base, and what we're going to do is we are going to single crochet 1 in each stitch for all 18 stitches, but we're going to do this in that back loop only. So just grab up the back loop and then just go right around doing a single crochet. And this will give it just kind of that look like it's kind of sitting right on top of the bear head. Okay, so just keep going all the way around in that back loop. And then once we get this done, we'll go ahead and place this on top of the head and sew it on. And then we'll start working on the spout. And then that's all the pieces. Then it's just the last little bit of assembly. Okay, there we go. And we're in the last one. And then I'm just going to slip stitch into that last back loop. Okay, so we've got that, and we're just going to leave a long tail for sewing on. And with the way it kind of folds down with the working in that back loop only, it kind of gives it that more of that cap shape. So next we'll get that sewn on. To place the cap onto the head, we're going to be putting it right in the very center. And it may need just a little bit of stuffing, but we're not going to add any in until we've got a little gap for the last couple of stitches. And then we'll slide in just a little bit of stuffing to keep that kind of popped up look. So I've got my yarn needle on my tail, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my needle and just kind of come right down through. Just kind of bring that so it's closed up. And I'm going to take and place the tail onto the back side, and I've just got the other little tail just kind of stuffed up underneath. And so just kind of center it right in the very middle, and then to go ahead and sew this on, you can just kind of follow the line that's going right along with the cap. And so just kind of come in through the body, and then you can just kind of come up through the front loop only. And then go down the front loop and into the head. And just keep going, doing that stitch all the way around. So come up and then back down and into the head. And we're going to go and do this all the way around, but we're going to stop a few stitches before it's completely closed up to see how much stuffing we want to add in. So go ahead and just keep sewing, and then just as you get to the very end, stop, and then we'll add some stuffing in. So I'm just about at the end, and I've got this little gap right here where I can get some stuffing in. And I'm just going to take a very small amount, and what I'm going to do is carefully take my scissors. Oops, sorry camera, didn't mean to shake everybody up. But I'm going to just kind of stuff it in with the point of my scissors. And it doesn't take a whole lot. We just don't want it to kind of squish down. We want it to have that plastic cap shape where it looks like the cap has been kind of screwed on. And so that's what we're looking for. And like I said, that's about all the stuffing I even need. And then I'll just finish up these last couple of stitches, and then once we have this all done, we're gonna just start working on the spout, get that sewn on, and lastly we'll get those 2 ears we've set aside placed onto the bear. So once you get your cap all completed, we'll start on the spout. So we're ready to start working on the spout, and there's 6 rows. Now at the beginning we're just working with a magic ring of 4, and then we're doing another round of 4, and then it increases to 6, and then another round of 6, and it increases to 8, and another round of 8. So there's not much room to work with in order to make the spout, but we'll work on this together and get that all set. It's not that it's terribly hard, it's just very small working space. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with our magic ring. And we are going to single crochet 4, 1, 2, get that back on there, 3, and 4. We're going to pull it closed, and now we're just going to do a single round of 4, so no increases yet. So this is where it's a little hard, but as we do increase up to 8 stitches, it does give you a little more space to work with. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And you might want to get it so it may want to curl in the wrong direction. So now is a good time to kind of straighten it out. Okay, so we've got 4, and in our next round we're going to increase to 6. Okay, we are ready for our 3rd round, and we're going to go from 4 stitches to 6. So in our first stitch we're going to increase, so there's 1, 2, in the next stitch we're going to do 1 single crochet. In the 3rd stitch we're going to do an increase, and in the 4th stitch just a single crochet. And then in the next round we're just going to single crochet 1 in each stitch. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then next we're going to do, in our 5th round, we're going to increase to 8 stitches. We are in round 5 of our spout, and we're going to increase from 6 stitches to 8. And so our pattern will be, in our first stitch we're going to increase, and then a single crochet in the next stitch and a single crochet in the next, and we'll do that one more time. So we're going to increase and then single crochet and single crochet, and that brings us to 8 single crochet all the way around, and in our last stitch it's just 1 single crochet all the way around. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll kind of straighten everything out. And then what we'll do is we will slip stitch into the next stitch, leave a tail for sewing, and pull out our hook, and then we can take our tail and just kind of stuff that in, and we can put in just a tiny bit of stuffing up into, I'll roll that up and stick that in there to keep some shape for the spout. So there we go, we've got the spout made, and the next thing we're going to do is we are going to sew this on to the very center of the cap, and then add the ears on either side, and we will be all set with our little honey bear. Okay, and as you can see, right where the spout is the very center of the cap. So we're going to be just placing it right around in here. I've got my yarn needle threaded, and we have, whoops, I bumped the camera again. We have our little tail. We're going to keep that into the back, and we are going to basically sew this on just the way we did around here. So go ahead and sew that on to the very center. If you think it needs a little more stuffing, do the same thing where just you leave a gap and just enough to push a little more stuffing up in there if you think you need it, and then finish off those last couple of stitches. And once you get this on, then we'll go ahead and work on the ears. We are almost done, and this is going really well. So the only thing we have left to do for our little honey bear is stick his ears on. And so I put the ears directly in the center, and I start right at the base of the little lid. And so what I'm going to do is get my yarn needle threaded. Let me cut out that little bit of extra. It's kind of frayed. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then how I like to add in my ears, because I don't like to use pins because I always seem to poke myself. So what I do is I figure out right about where I'm going to want that, and I just come, start right about here, and kind of look and see how long is the ear. So the ear is going to come out right about here. So I'm just going to come straight through, pull the ear all the way up to the body, come right in underneath on that last stitch, and that just secures my ear right in place. And so it's right on there. Now all I'm going to do is pretty much the same sewing, just come up through the front loop, back down into the body, and just go all the way around, and do that for both ears. And that is everything it's going to take to make our little honey bear. So once we get our ears added on, then we'll meet back up here, and it'll be just one moment. So here we are. Here's the two honey bears, and to kind of give you a look at how both of them turned out. This was my original, and this is the one I was working on today. And no matter what, no matter how many times I make something, it never seems to come out exactly the same. They might be just a little bit different in size and little differences in everything, but I wanted to show you what these look like. And then I had one that I made when I was first trying out the pattern, and I thought something would have been cute. Mine didn't turn out well, but this little bee that I stuck up on top of his little cap, the bee didn't turn out very well, so I didn't want to try to remake that. Just it's kind of wonky. But if you wanted to make like a little bee to stick onto him, or anything, you know, to kind of decorate it, just a little additions that you can do to your bear. And then he kind of was a different color too. And then you can see the spout kind of looks kind of mangled. But But you know, that's what it takes, to practice, and then you get it. I hope you enjoyed making this, and if you do make one, I'd love to have you show me a picture of it. You can get a hold of me and at Instagram, and I'll put my information up, and then you can send me a picture of any little honey bears, or if you make any of the patterns that I do a tutorial for. And so I hope you enjoyed this, and if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below, and just let me know. Do you like honey as much as I do? Because I always have a real honey bear somewhere in the house. I hope you have a great day. Bye.